My wife cheated on me, so I carefully planned to ruin her life instead of divorcing her. I moved in secretly, gathered evidence, and exposed her affair to everyone, leading to her collapse and loss of her job. My wife had no idea that I knew about her ongoing affair. The first thing I did was devise a plan to make her life a living hell. Simply confronting her and divorcing her was too easy. I started by gathering evidence of the affair. I did this using an app that allowed me to spy on her text messages. Every night, I would spy on her messages, taking screenshots of every conversation between her and her lover. They spoke as if they were in a full-fledged relationship, with romantic and affectionate messages, provocative photos, the whole package. At that point, I moved on to the phase of making her life a nightmare. I began acting extremely cold toward her, which made her paranoid. She constantly asked me if everything was okay, but I ignored her. She tried to talk to me and get me to open up, but I avoided her. I could see that this was affecting her mentally, but I was just getting started. I also started doing things out of the ordinary. I began going out at odd hours and coming home late from work. I was on my phone much more than usual, and when she asked what I was doing, I would simply say stuff and put my phone away. I also changed my login information on everything so she couldn't access any of my accounts. At this point, I informed my best friend, my older sister, and two of my closest friends, including Nina, about what was happening. Take note of Nina, as she'll come into play later. A month of acting cold toward my wife was all it took for her to lose her mind completely. She started texting and calling me much more frequently, asking if I would be home, when I would get home, trying to initiate things in the bedroom, and asking if I was okay every day. I could see that the seed I had planted in her mind the previous month was starting to grow, especially in her communication with her lover, Dave. She was venting to him about her doubts and confusion, and I was watching it all, thanks to the app. She told him that I was becoming cold and distant. In the middle of these interactions with Dave, she suggested they should stop meeting in our house because she had no idea if I might show up suddenly. Dave asked in that particular conversation if she was worried that I might be cheating on her. I can't even begin to describe the level of joy and laughter I felt reading the conversation, my cheating wife discussing with her lover whether she was angry that her husband might be cheating. Usually, I was at my friend Asie's house playing video games. Fast forward a few more months, 4 long months of keeping my mouth shut, gathering evidence, and driving my wife crazy by acting cold and distant. She had started to nearly fall into psychosis, and I was enjoying it. I've been in my fake affair for 5 months now, and it's been 5 months since I last touched her. No hugs, no kisses, no initiating intimacy. Not that I needed to, she was still sleeping with Dave, just at his house or in motels. And then, one day, everything exploded. She called me at work, begging me to come home immediately because she had something important to tell me. I really thought she was going to confess her infidelity, but of course, she didn't. Instead, when I got home, she asked if I was unhappy with her. She cited the fact that I had been spending too much time out of the house, no longer showed her affection, and that our bedroom life had completely died. She told me she was worried that I was pushing her away. And then the kicker came, she asked if I was cheating on her. I can't lie, I fell to the floor laughing hysterically. When I say hysterically, I mean a hysterical laugh like the Joker. On the surface, it seemed like I was laughing at the notion of being unfaithful, but of course, I was really laughing at the sheer irony of what was happening right in front of my eyes. I was crying, pounding the floor in complete laughter for a good 2 minutes before composing myself enough to respond. I sat up, looked her in the eyes for the first time in months, shook my head, but didn't give her an answer. I got up, dusted myself off, kissed her on the head, and proceeded to settle in for the night. I could hear her start to cry as I walked away, but I didn't care. Later that night, while in my office, I decided that, given the brevity of what had happened, I wanted to see what she was telling him. So, I turned on the app, and sure enough, they were texting in real time. She told Dave that she knew I was cheating on her, that she asked me that night, and that I literally laughed in her face. She told him that I fell to the floor and laughed for about 5 minutes, that I no longer cared about how she felt, and that she didn't know how or why, but that she had already lost me. This is karma. The smile on my face as I read that must have resembled the Cheshire Cats. She was falling apart. Dave tried to console her by saying that if I had cared enough, she wouldn't have had to turn to him to give her what I wasn't giving her. The tone of her replies told me that she was now having doubts about him, too. During all this, I was also carrying out another part of my revenge plan. This part involved getting all my financial matters in order. You see, not long ago, I met with a family lawyer to get the divorce papers ready. With the mountain of evidence I had accumulated up to that point, the overwhelming amount of proof I had gathered. You can click on share and more to see if there is a part 2.